Lee McCabe is the top voice in private equity on LinkedIn. Beyond his 45,000 followers and the hundreds of thousands of impressions that he's generated, what's even more impressive is the wealth of experience that Lee brings from companies like Meta, Alibaba, and multiple private equity firms. In the episode, we talk about Lee's secret formula behind how he crafts his viral LinkedIn posts, but more importantly, why Lee believes more private equity firms and professionals need to seriously consider LinkedIn in 2026. I was honestly blown away by Lee in this episode. You won't want to miss it. Let's get into it. Welcome to Connection Accepted. Today we've got Lee McCabe on the podcast. Lee, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Lee, for the people who have no idea who you are, can you just give a quick background on who you are, what you do, where you're from?
Sure. I'm English originally, as you get from the accent, been in the US for the past 15 years. Background was really in big tech with eBay, Expedia, Facebook, Alibaba. Moved into private equity several years ago and launched my own firm in January this year.
That's awesome. And one very important detail, you also have 45,000 followers on LinkedIn. Is that right?
45,000? Yeah, about that.
Yeah, just a mere 45,000. Lee's been absolutely crushing it on LinkedIn, and we're so excited to get into that today. But Lee, before we do get into LinkedIn specifically, how did you even go from, the big tech space into the private equity space? Because those are two very different worlds.
Yeah, look, I saw an opportunity. My last job in big tech was out in North America for Alibaba Group. And one of the primary jobs there was to get all the major US brands to sell into China on Alibaba's Tmall platform. And it was really a no-brainer because the audience that Tmall has, it was really the easiest way to sell anything in China. So as I was pitching to all these brands, they were also getting me to pitch to the boards, and it really opened my eyes to PE because most of these brands are owned by PE. And it opened my eyes to the grasp that private equity had across a lot of businesses. And it also opened my eyes to how not digital private equity was. So when I left Alibaba, I set my sights on getting into PE and specifically working on digital value creation in PE because that's where I saw the opportunity. Traditionally PE buys a lot of businesses. And if you look at most of PE, they're not sexy businesses. They're not tech businesses. They're all boring businesses that make a lot of money. But these big old boring businesses also hadn't digitized. And coming from a digital background, it just struck me as being crazy. And I thought digital wasn't talked about a lot in PE. And to me, it was a no-brainer that it should have been one of the biggest levers of value creation in private equity. So that's why I made the jump.
And when you talk about digital value creation, Lee, for people who have no context or aren't familiar with that term, what exactly are you guys going in and doing at these businesses to create value?
It's very simple. It's creating a digital foundation in these businesses. So basically, you fix the tech stack, first of all. The tech stack is the foundation of any business nowadays. And you can build a pretty good tech stack pretty cheap, right? You don't need to build anything anymore. Everything's off the shelf. You API it together. So you build a tech stack built on data. And then you should do two things. It should make your customer journey very efficient, and it should give you a business built on data. So, you're not making guesses anymore. There's no more gut feel. You should be able to measure everything going on in your business. Every customer connection should be tagged and tracked. You should have full attribution of business. So you fix the tech stack, the foundation. Once you do that, you start to have a business built on data. You drop BI on top of that to build out all the dashboards. So at every level of the business, from the CEO down, they can see all their KPIs and they can manage their business a bit better. And then you introduce a digital marketing team. You digitize the marketing team, you digitize the sales team, and you see big lifts straight away because a lot of these traditional companies still are not really that digital and really haven't done a lot of digital marketing. PE buys companies and typically the founder has been with the company a long time, and they're traditional media guys. So they're spending 80% of their budget on TV and radio, which is still, there's still use for that to fill the top of funnel. But you flip it to say it probably should be about 70% digital going forward. And you do all the things that make sense on digital. You invest in Google, you invest in Meta, you invest in all the platforms where your customers are. If you build the tech stack correctly, you can measure attribution, you can measure ROI and ROAS. So you start a flywheel to profitably acquire new customers and grow your business.
Lee, I want to give an example for the audience to make sure we're all on the same page about digital value creation and private equity, because I think private equity is something that can sometimes be misunderstood by a lot of people. And
Yep.
if we use the example of either an electrician or a
Yep.
dentist, from my understanding, what private equity is doing is buying a bunch of electricians or dentist shops. And then what you're doing with this digital value creation piece is saying, okay, let's have an online appointment schedule system for all of our electricians or for, the dentists. And then let's have a CRM or a way to track all of our customers. So if business is a little bit slow, maybe we'll run a coupon for the electricians,
Yep.
or we're going to automate our payroll and use other technology that probably isn't being done because it's a, small mom and pop shop that can't afford it or doesn't have the tools to do that. And through using those tools like automating your HR and appointment scheduling, you're saving a lot of costs where people in this business can spend more time doing what they actually love, and
Yep.
that's where you're creating the value. Is that in a nutshell
It's all
what
well,
private equity and
the things you mentioned are more about the efficiency. If we take that case you said, electricians, or let's just say general home service. So home
Okay.
services in general are a good play for private equity. Roofing, HVAC, electricians, plumbing. They're good businesses because they're resilient, right? No matter what the macro is doing, if your roof has a hole, you need to get it fixed, regardless of how the economy is. If your HVAC breaks down, you need to get it fixed. So these are good industries, but a lot of them haven't moved with the times. And it's also about reframing what that industry is. So, I work with a lot of CEOs, and if you ask CEOs of these businesses, most of the time they will say, I run a roofing business, or I run a HVAC business. The best CEOs in this space will tell you, I run a sales and marketing business. That's it. Because lead generation is my business. If I become a master generating leads in this business, I'll have a great business and I'll smoke competition. Now, of course, your sales team's got to be good and your product's got to be good and all your back end has got to be good and your service has got to be good and delivery has got to be good. But it's really a lead generation business. So we build lead generation engines. So if you're an electrician, you need to be found, right? That's half the battle. And there's just hygiene factors in digital that a lot of companies don't do. Like you need to be found on Google. So your SEO has got to be better than anything. Your business profiles have got to be as good as they can be on Google. Most of it is about being found. Then, if you've done all the necessary foundational improvements on the tech stack and all the tracking, you start spending on Google. And if you've done that wisely, you'll get to a point where you can start spending and you'll know your margin, you'll know the economics of the business. And you should get to a point where you say, look, I know what a transaction is. I know what the LTV is. Let's say it's $1,000. And before long, you get to a point on Google where you say, look, I can spend up to $200 for a lead. I know I can convert that at 50%. So $400 for a transaction, that's profitable for me to make $1,000. So you get to a point of scalability where you say, look, there's no marketing budget anymore to open because I'll just spend all day long in this machine generating leads. As long as I can hold the cost of a lead at that price, and as long as I carry on converting at 50% or whatever it is, I'll spend all day long. So it's really building lead generation machines for these businesses and making sure they're optimizing the marketing engine, the lead generation, and the marketing spend as wisely as possible.
Lee, I love the way that you broke it down. You probably worked with many different businesses when you were doing these digital value creation plays. What are some of the most common challenges that middle market businesses, from what you could observed, faced when it comes to improving their lead generation capabilities?
It's always two things: it's tech stack and people. And when I talk about value creation drivers, digital is one of the biggest ones. People's always the biggest one. So just the culture of organizations and the talent you have. And I always tell companies, like, overpay to get superstars in your business. You want a superstar CMO who understands performance marketing, who is analytically driven, has a intellectual curiosity, who will test and learn on every single channel at the disposal to find you customers and find you profitable customers. And then absolutely employ a superstar for your sales team, because you could build the best marketing engine in the world. If your sales team aren't good enough to convert those leads, it's going to fall down. If your sales team aren't good enough to track those leads and enter the data in the CRM to help you with attribution, it's going to fall down. So I would say always overpay. Get the superstars that can run your business. That's one, and then give them the tools to do that well. That's the tech stack. Build a tech stack that's going to give them all the data so they know exactly what's going on across that business. They know where every call's coming from. They know where every lead form is coming from. They can attribute that to the channel. The channel attribution, they can attribute to every cent they spend on that channel. So you've got full visibility and full attribution.
Lee, if this performance marketing and digital value creation that you're doing in private equity sounds like, it's just a cash printing machine. Now, I know it's not as easy as that. It takes a lot of work to get the right people in place. And I know you've been doing it for a while, but what led you to post on LinkedIn and take time away from this machine that seems to be working incredibly well, especially when you don't know how much it's going to pay off when something like a Facebook ad clearly has a return on investment?
Because a couple of things. I think building a personal profile is important. And I think building a business profile is important. And LinkedIn is really the easiest and the cheapest way to do it, because it's costing me time. That's it. Right? I'm not paying advertising on LinkedIn or anything else. It's just the time. And the catalyst was, I always knew LinkedIn was an important channel, but like everyone else, there were a couple of hurdles. You've got to get over cringe mountain and just start posting, right, on LinkedIn. So I thought about it for a while. I only really started posting in May this year. And before that, I spoke to a few firms, like you guys are doing, who are going to drive your profile on LinkedIn and get you business and figure out your posts and have a strategy. And I spoke to quite a few smart firms about it, but, they're expensive. And I thought, I'm not sure I need to pay that. But I listened to what they said and thought, okay, that makes sense. You have a cadence of your posts. And at the end of the day, it's all about the quality of the content. And I think if you post quality content, people will read it. So, I started posting in May. I was in a coffee shop in England at the time. I posted one day and it got quite a few impressions. And then I posted the next day, it just blew up, the second post. And then the light bulb went off and I went, okay, I think there's something in this. So then I kind of worked out a cadence of how I post and how I write content, and how I curate that content, and went from there.
Lee, that's incredible that you've been posting for less than a year and you've seen the growth that you've already seen. When you say posting quality content is the number one thing, I completely agree with you there.
Yeah.
If we were to just unpeel that a little bit more, though, what does quality content look like on LinkedIn from your perspective? Like, are there certain things that people should be paying attention to when they create their content?
It's a tough one, right? Because we're all figuring this out. I think, like I posted on one of your comments this week, we're all trying to game the system, right? SEO is a billion-dollar industry built on gaming Google, trying to make yourself look more important than you are, more important than competition to get those eyeballs. LinkedIn is the same, but I think it's more the black box, way more the black box than Google. So, figuring that out is the hard thing. But back to your question, quality content, I it's been easier than I thought. I mean, look, basically, I'm authentic on LinkedIn. Working in private equity, unlike Bain, you are locked down from LinkedIn. You're not allowed to post anything when you're working. I'm sure that's the same for most PE firms. You're not allowed to post anything or even like things on LinkedIn or any social platform. So really, I just started posting with an authentic voice about things I've been thinking about for a long time. So I think, look, good content, it helps if it's a bit provocative, which a lot of my content is. But again, these are things I've been thinking of for a long time. During the week, I just make notes. If I think about something new, I'll make a note and then come back to it. But for me, I've got there's no real secret sauce to it. I read LinkedIn, look what people are talking about. Most of it just comes from what I'm thinking about at the time.
I think the secret sauce for you is probably the fact that you have years of experience, and so everything that you write about is, well, one, it resonates with a lot of your audience. And Lee, I remember when you and I first chatted, I think this was maybe in September or August,
Yeah.
you told me that the things that people say behind the closed boardroom doors, you're essentially coming out here and saying that out in public, which normally private equity guys, they wouldn't dare to post on LinkedIn about something like that. But because you're the one that's coming out here and saying it, everyone agrees, everyone relates to it, and you're one of the few voices. I mean, maybe you, Edwin, a couple other guys potentially are actually coming out here and talking in an authentic way. I think if I were
Uh,
to just look at your profile, that is what I think has very much contributed to the growth so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. And the thing is, now I have my own firm. I can say what I want. I'm not locked down by working for a PE firm anymore. And I think everyone else is. Everyone else works for a firm and can't say what they really think on LinkedIn. It's interesting. I get a lot of DMs from people in PE who say, we can't post, I can't publicly comment on this, but you're absolutely right in what you're saying in this. And I think that's also an opportunity. PE has this kind of mystique around it. And a lot of PE firms will say, well, we've got a secret sauce and there's a lot of secrecy involved in PE. And there's no secret sauce in PE. How you grow a business is how people have been growing businesses for years. So just kind of speaking about that uh, gets the attention.
I totally agree, Lee, because and I know Edwin Yoon, who Matt just referenced, and a future guest to the show,
Yeah.
he does similar stuff to you and talks about how, there are more PE shops in America than McDonald's stores and a bunch of other these cool stats. But I'm curious, as you've figured out your voice on LinkedIn, how did you realize this more authentic and sometimes controversial and a little bit, pulling the emotion to some people is what worked?
Well, look, there was no tactics behind this. I didn't start writing posts and then thinking I should make this more provocative. I should make this more controversial. It's authentic. It's me. I write the posts in my own voice. I'm British. I have a sarcastic sense of humor. I guess we're naturally provocative as a nation. So yeah, there's no strategy to being more provocative in these posts or dialing it up or dialing it down. I just write how I talk.
I love it. Can you run us through your process from idea all the way to hitting post?
Yeah. So look, I changed over time on this. To begin with, I'd write posts and then trying to figure out what worked and write more posts. But the thing is, like I said earlier, this is a black box. It's really hard to predict what's going to work on LinkedIn. You're kind of like, Matt, I think I said to you on a previous call, it's like being a stand-up comic, right? You put it out there, some of it hits, some of it bombs. It's still hard to tell what's going to hit and what's going to bomb, but hopefully you kind of learn over time and you build that muscle and it helps you write better posts going forward. The process is for me now, I use Buffer to schedule, and I'll probably write the last batch. I spent a weekend and wrote 2 months worth of posts and scheduled them for the 2 months. So your point earlier about the time, I mean, that's really my time investment. And I just make sure I'm there every day for the first 30 minutes to reply to the first handful of responses. Then that's it. I do my day job and then field all the DMs coming in and the requests and responses. And that's a mixed bag as well. Like you guys, you get a lot, but I would say about 10% are pretty valuable. 10% are good leads. They're people I would want to talk to. There's people I would potentially do business with. So I think that's a pretty good hit rate.
When you're writing these posts, that's awesome. You can knock out a month's worth of content in just a weekend. Are you like having ideas throughout the day? You're texting yourself? Are you using a LinkedIn text editor to optimize your hooks? Or are you just going into the LinkedIn post editor or this tool that you're using and just schedule posting?
It's very simple. I just use stickies to make my notes. So every time I've got an idea, I've make the note and have a long list of things that I'm thinking about. And then I'll go in and write them. And then I'll use ChatGPT to augment them. Because, ChatGPT, I don't use that a lot for ideas, but its writing is better than mine and its prose is better than mine. And it works. And you get a lot of people, as you guys probably will as well, and others do, flaming you for saying this is ChatGPT. It's actually not. ChatGPT used as it should be like a co-pilot, I think is valuable. As long as you're not using ChatGPT to come up with all your ideas and then write the full post for you, and you're leaving the emojis in there and the M dashes and everything else, you just become a post factory and you're not even thinking about it. That's problematic, and that doesn't work. But I think if you use ChatGPT like a co-pilot, how it should be used, if it can make the content better, then everyone should do it.
Are there any posting conspiracies that you do adhere to, Lee? Like a bunch of previous guests say they'll only post at 9 a.m. every day. Or some people need the hook to be less than 63 characters. Or some people don't want to post more than 3 times a day or more than 2 times a day. And we all make up all sorts of rules. So I'm curious if there are any that you've made up for yourself or that you have stats for what you do.
No, the honest answer is not really. When I first started posting, I paid attention to the times. It's probably the main thing I paid attention to. And does it make a difference? I'm not sure it does. I'm not any metrics to show that it makes a difference. I posted some posts on 3 o'clock in the afternoon and they've gone on fire. So I don't think it makes a difference. I think intuitively though, I tried to post at around 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just so people get to work opening the posts. That's it. Simple.
To quickly dispel your dislike for posting at 3 p.m. or any other time in the afternoon, now that I know it's not that big of a deal, but some of these, the Cody Sanchez, call it rage bait or whatever,
Yeah.
posts I did was at 8 o'clock on a Saturday. And I woke up the next morning to like 80,000 impressions. So that to me, if anything else, is like, timing does not matter.
I don't think it does. I mean, one of the biggest posts I did, I think, was like 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Because I just had an idea and there was nothing posted that day. So I just quickly posted it and it blew up. So I think you're right. There's probably something to timing. Is it a massive lever? Probably not.
It's it's funny because we're addicted to social media. It's not like we're only on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn just for the business hours during the workday. It's like we're on it all the time because we like seeing the content. It's not like it's a bank where it like closes after business hours. The app's open 24/7.
Yeah. It's funny that a lot of the times I get a ton of impressions just commenting on people's posts. That surprised me as well. I should probably do that a lot more. But some of the comments, and they're just quick comments, maybe no more than a paragraph on some posts. I've got thousands of impressions.
Yeah, it's an incredibly powerful way to extend your reach without having to put in nearly as much effort as drafting up a full post. Lee, in terms of posting frequency, are you posting usually 5 times a week? Have you
No,
tried posting multiple times in a day? What does that look like for you?
3 times a week. That's it. I used to when I started off, and I got hooked. I think I was posting 5 times a week, just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Uh, and I realized I probably don't need to, and it was taking more time for the first 30 minutes every morning, getting up to check the comments. So then I moved to 4. Currently I'm at 3, just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then that leaves me Monday and Friday to do my day job.
Because LinkedIn is a full-time job. Love that. And have you noticed any change in the growth trajectory since going down to 3 as opposed to 5?
Hardly any. Hardly any.
Incredible.
It's hard to call. And no, again, when I look at the trajectory, I can't see a big difference. It's all about the quality of the post, right? 'Cause I could be posting 5 posts that don't hit at all. And then one week I post 3 posts and just one goes bananas. And that's something, again, back to our conversation before, you just can't call which posts are going to blow up or not. That's one of the many fun things about it.
I
Now,
actually had
more
one.
importantly, though, you go, Matt.
Yeah, I had one question for you, Lee. So engagements versus impressions, as we know, are two different metrics. And as you said earlier, the private equity community, there's usually less people that can engage, even if they resonate with whatever it is you're writing about.
Yeah,
Um, but your most, at least from what I can observe on your profile, your most viral post based on engagements, I think it
yeah.
has 2,000 plus engagements. Is that also your most viral when it comes to the number of impressions, or is there a different post that you've made that has higher impressions than that?
Which was the post that you're referring to?
It's the one about if you were to create a private equity firm in 2025, like that, this is the approach that you would take. And you kind of go into, being very like value
Okay,
creation focused.
those ones did well and got a ton of engagement and a ton of impressions. The other ones that you guys do a lot are just commenting about LinkedIn. I did one post about, I don't do this a lot, about just archetypes on LinkedIn and the tricks on LinkedIn. That might be the highest one I've had so far.
Okay, so it's not, I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. It is not this post here. If I were building a PE firm from scratch, this does not have the highest impressions.
No, I think I've
No.
got ones with way higher than that. But that
That,
that might have been the second post I did. So when I said earlier I was sat in the cafe and my second post blew up, I think that was the second post.
fascinating.
That's the thing. That's the annoying thing about LinkedIn, right? I would love the analytics to be better on LinkedIn. I would love the attribution to be better on LinkedIn because right now we're only valuing on vanity metrics, which I hate. And whenever I work on these companies on marketing, and I think I posted about this, you shouldn't give two shits about vanity metrics. Impressions mean nothing, right? Impressions and engagement mean nothing unless they're actually bringing you business. And that's the hard thing about LinkedIn. I tell everyone in business that, and of course, every day I'm looking at impressions on LinkedIn because there's no other real great metric to look at. You look at impressions, engagement, but I'd love to see, well, actually, how many business driving conversations did I have as a result of that? how many messages did I get that I can directly attribute to that post? And then what did I do with those messages afterwards? Because ultimately, we're all doing this to make money, right? We're not doing it to just drive impressions and drive engagement. We're all selling something. So, I would love LinkedIn or a third party to develop a better tracking system and better attribution system to say, here's how much money you made off this post. Here's how many deals you got off this post. That would be great. And then we could all stop talking about impressions and engagement. But unfortunately, those are the only metrics that LinkedIn really gives us as a measure for quality.
And they're very addictive to check. I mean, even though you're only posting 3 times a weekly, how often do you think you're checking your impressions? Like over 5 times a day? Because I know I am.
Mhm. No, I'll probably check in the morning when I'm just replying to the first few comments that come through. Probably just for the first hour. And then the first hour, most of the time, you get a good feel for how well that person is going to perform based on the impressions and the engagement. And then, look, maybe I'll check it again 2 to 3 times more during the day.
You have much more discipline than me.
Are there any other things, Lee, that you would like to see on LinkedIn? Say you can talk to the chief product officer or the CEO of LinkedIn tomorrow. Is there anything else you would
Yeah,
request besides
lots.
better
Look,
analytics?
I haven't started using Condor yet, but I might. I mean, I think just the inbox is terrible, and just managing the inbox is tough. I think there are a lot of tools LinkedIn could build. One is just that basic attribution. I mean, help me understand how much business ultimately I win from posting on LinkedIn. Now, I know I'm winning a lot, which is great, but again, I'd love to see that tightly attributed to the post and when I posted it, so I could learn from that. And then if they did a good job of that, I'd spend on LinkedIn. Because if they said to me, these posts drove X amount of business for you, and if you pay $500, we can boost them, and because we've got good attribution, that would mean more business for you, and I'd spend all day long, just like Google me, help me to measure what my ROI is from your business, and it's actually in your best interest because if you help me understand the ROI from this, then I'll start spending.
Yeah, well said. I mean, the attribution piece, so important. I'm curious your thoughts because LinkedIn's been pushing people to really spend on boosting posts. I'm sure you've seen this, when you click post,
Yeah.
immediately there's a thing that says, hey, do you want to boost your post to your audience? Have you tried that yet? Or what are your thoughts on
Look,
them
it
trying
doesn't
to
it doesn't
boost
strike me as good value. I can't recall the metrics, but it's something like, spend $100 and we'll get you 5,000 more impressions. It's something like that. And I look at the value and think, well, I'm posting for free. On some posts, I'm getting 300,000 impressions. So why am I going to pay you $50 to get me 5,000 more? And again, when I don't know what that's going to get me back, other than 5,000 impressions, which are really meaningless. Again, if they found a way to measure this way better than they do now and give me a way to attribute to a business and revenue, I'd happily spend it.
What's your
And,
best
and
link?
also, give me metrics to show me what works more. Because you guys post about this. They've been pushing video a lot. Now, if you're going to push video a lot, the thing that you should do is, if somebody follows your advice and starts using video, you would want to show them the evidence that those posts are going to do really well. And I've seen no evidence of that. The only video posts I've seen do well are the promoted posts. And the posts that actually LinkedIn are putting out and promoting themselves saying, use video, or third party they're sponsoring to say, use video, and then promoting those posts. But I've tried video a few times. It hasn't worked at all. So again, just tools to help me understand kind of what's best practice. What should I be doing? Other than the content, should I be posting images? Should I be posting charts? Give me some metrics to kind of point me in a better direction. and ultimately to help me spend money with you. If you want me to spend money, give me more intelligence around it, so to help me understand what works. And then if you're going to push video, make sure your algorithm is 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 aligned to that and does what it's supposed to, which right now it's not.
Yeah, Lee, so I noticed that your content initially started out text only. And
Yeah.
over time, you started branching out, right? Like you've tried some video, you've been using more images. You've done some more like funny, humorous type posts. I think there was one about like the dress code or the attire that you made recently.
Yeah, that was a random one. Yeah.
How have you noticed any patterns among the different formats of posts or image? Clearly, you're not seeing a significant uplift if it's a video versus a regular image. But
Yeah.
any other observations?
No, I think text does the best easily. I think good content, text only, does the best. I have played around with a few things. I think the kind of the post I made about fashion sense on Wall Street and the Midtown bro outfit. Again, just something I was thinking about. And I've had conversation with colleagues a lot about that, and I thought it was funny. But then one morning I thought it was a Monday, which I don't normally post, and I'll post something. And then used ideogram to make the image and drop that in. And that did exceptionally well. A few of the things I post about are just from presentations that I've made, and a few slides that I think are particularly interesting. So I'll drop the slide in the post and write the post about the concept in the slide. But I think if I analyzed it, I don't see any benefit from dropping images in there, and definitely no benefit from dropping videos in any of these posts.
It's fascinating.
I'm curiously, what has been your best LinkedIn success story from a business perspective? Because I know it's annoying that LinkedIn doesn't have any of these features, but it is driving success for, your business, I'm sure, and, the same with Matt as well. So, what are some of your best LinkedIn business stories?
It's so random, right? I mean, ultimately, I'm posting so I want to make better contacts to drive my main business, which is Claymore Partners, and that's just a lot of contacts. But then just, I think, random connections that come along. Random connections from other companies, like offers of board seats, offers of investment opportunities, offers to speak at different conferences. So it's hard to say this was the most successful kind of connection I made on there. I think I think there's value across the board, and the fun thing is the unexpected ones that come through. They may not directly be tied to my business, but are great opportunities and things that I wouldn't have that wouldn't have happened unless I'd been posting on LinkedIn.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I completely resonate with you, Lee, on that. I think since I really started actively posting over the summer, as I've been building Forge up, I've gotten a number of inbound leads, of course, to the business, current clients now that I'm working with that found me on LinkedIn, but
Yeah,
also a lot of weird but unexpectedly positive opportunities, networking opportunities, events, things like that that I never would have thought would have come through LinkedIn. So clearly there's a ton of benefit to posting online. If there's anything that you would tell, say, a founder or someone in the private equity space who's thinking about posting on LinkedIn, but they're a
yeah.
little bit hesitant, what would you say to them?
Just start. What's the worst that could happen? Just start. It's funny when I started talking to all these firms before I started posting. The one thing all of them wanted me to do was post videos of myself. And that was part of their value proposition. They said, look, we will interview you once a month, and then we'll take the best snippets of those interviews, and we'll post them, and it'll be awesome. And I was always reticent. I'd always say, look, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And they push me and say, why don't you want to do it? And I'd say, look, to be honest, I don't want to look like a dick on LinkedIn. And most of these videos that I see are people talking to the camera in a very salesy way that looks contrived, I can't stand. So that's why I kind of push back on that. So I would say just start. Just start posting on LinkedIn. Text is fine, but just be authentic. Just post what you're seeing in your business. That's what people like. Post something new, be authentic, be transparent. I think people like kind of the honesty in these posts, and do not try and sell anything. Those posts I can't stand either. Like, don't try and sell anything in your post. Don't directly try and sell anything, and then don't indirectly try and sell anything. Don't make an authentic post and then drop in the last paragraph a sales pitch for your business. I think it turns people off. So yeah, start posting. Get over cringe mounting. Start posting. You'll soon figure out what works, and you'll start learning. You'll start learning by the audience. You'll start learning by kind of the comments that you get, and then just put a bit of time away each week to post once a week, then post twice a week, whatever cadence you might feel appropriate. Start posting 3 times a week, and go from there. But I think there's just value of starting and value of, the compounding effect. I think just good content, good authentic content, one, gets you all the vanity metrics we discussed, engagement and impressions that day. But the rigor of posting a few times a week, the value of that content compounds. I'm still getting likes from that post you pulled up. I still get likes occasionally each week from that. I posted that 6 months ago.
Lee, you hit on so many great points that Matt and I talk about all the time. Getting over cringe mountain, continuing to post, not trying to sound like an ad, like being upfront with your audience, being authentic. I'm curious though, like a lot of these things are things that aren't innate or in normal human nature for most people to do, not
Yeah.
only on social media, but in real life. And sometimes Matt and I are still fighting this cringe mountain as we're posting like this week and thinking, should like can do people really want to hear from us? Is this not really my voice? How do you how did you first get over cringe mountain? And then how do you continue to fight it every day?
Well, I don't fight it every day. I mean, I got over cringe mountain with the first 2 posts. I just started. I just
You're just
started.
like, we're done.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I just started, and the second post that you just pulled up, when it blew up and I got all this engagement and response, that's when I thought, okay, there's something here, and I'm just being myself. I'm posting authentically. I'm getting a ton of great response from this. It's great. Okay, I'll post again tomorrow. And it just builds.
Mm.
I got more good response, and okay, I'll post again the next day, and then I'll set up posts all next week, and then I'll build from there. So I think cringe mound is not a journey. I think it's more like a hurdle. Just you get over it once, and you're there. And really, what's the worst that can happen? Really, what's the worst that can happen? Someone doesn't like your post. All right, well, there'll be 10 more people that do like it for the one person that didn't like it, and the one person that didn't like it, I think there's actually validation there because it shows that your content is not vanilla. And that's also the worst thing you can do. Try just writing boring vanilla content. You know, the content and kind of the provocative tone sometimes in my post, I think that's what gets the engagement because there's an honesty kind of behind that. So I think there's a ton of value there. And, some people don't like it. You can't be loved by everybody. And the validation is it creates conversation and it creates debate. And I posted something last week about uh, fractional roles. That post blew up and had a ton of comments, and not everyone agreed with me, and that's fine. I actually like that. That just drives a good debate in these posts and validates you that you're actually posting about things that other people are thinking about and they want to talk about and people have an opinion about. And I think that's what good content looks like on LinkedIn.
I totally agree. I think we build up the fear of failure to be worse than the actual fear itself. Because as you described, Lee, through posting on LinkedIn, what's the worst that can happen? Like someone doesn't like it. Okay, well, other people do, and like it's not that big of a deal. It's not like your girlfriend's gonna break up with you. Claymore is not gonna go bankrupt because of a LinkedIn. But like, it's just like it's so irrational, but we build up this fear in our head for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, the benefits greatly, greatly outweigh any cons of posting on LinkedIn.
Have you ever been stopped in the street and someone said, "That's Lee from LinkedIn"?
I did go. It's funny you asked, son. I did go to a PE conference a month ago, and 3 people recognized me from LinkedIn, which shocked me. I was like, yeah, I was surprised at that. It just
That's awesome.
it shows you the reach of the platform and the value of the platform.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
your audience, especially Lee, LinkedIn is the place to be. So I'm actually not surprised. I think if you go to more conferences in the near future, you'll also have people who recognize you. So that's awesome to hear. So one thing I did want to dig into a little bit though, kind of going off of the thread you were talking about around Cringe Mountain, not every post performs the same on LinkedIn. And as we just talked about, even the best content creators, the most experienced content creators, it's almost like you're a hedge fund manager. And yes, you need to bat at least 51% to beat the market, but like you're gonna make bad calls. It's just par for the course. Not all
Yeah,
of your posts are gonna get 100,000 impressions. How do you
yeah.
get around that when a post doesn't perform?
I don't care. It's like, who cares? I'll post again tomorrow. Let's see what tomorrow's post looks like. That's it.
Love that
It's just
mentality.
it's perseverance. You carry on posting. It is like the analogy you just said. Not every post is going to hit, and it's fine. Tomorrow's post might hit, and the next day's post might hit. I think, but the confidence is that posts will hit. Now you can't make a great call which posts are going to hit, but I'm pretty confident once or twice a month I'll get 2 posts that really hit. That's fine.
That's huge.
You're
I
a
completely agree.
machine, Lee. Before we get into good idea, bad idea, I want to first ask a little bit more about Claymore and how LinkedIn's helping you there.
Yep.
Are are you getting much better deal flow? And for the audience that's not familiar, essentially like what businesses you have the opportunity to invest in, like you have more options because of your LinkedIn presence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Claymore is not a full PE firm yet. I'm really building a PE firm backwards. I'm building the operational platform first to improve all the digital. I'm working with several PE firms right now. So the value of that is, yeah, the connections to more PE firms has been huge on LinkedIn and a major benefit. And then the ancillary benefits are what we talked about before, just the serendipity of the platform, where I'll get connections that I wouldn't have called, connections that I wouldn't have thought would have been useful, but I've had a conversation that turned out to be exceptionally useful, or connections and business opportunities that I really wasn't looking for, but have come my way and they've been great. So yeah, there's a ton of value.
Has there been a crazy deal like Blackstone offering you a bunch of money that you've turned down
No,
because of LinkedIn?
no, not
Not
yet.
yet, not yet.
No,
I'm
not
sure
nothing I can think of. Anyhow,
I'm sure some big PE shop's gonna come to you soon and be like, "Lee, we will pay you a bunch for a sponsored post about our firm." I mean, because if you
well,
were to do that, they'd get in front of the right people, maybe for recruiting or whatever it is.
I'm building a different platform for that. So LinkedIn, one of my rules is I don't advertise. And even vendors that I work with and wanna kind of pay me to do it, there's a strict no. Because I think once you start doing that, I think people see through it. And I might post twice a week and I'm really promoting another firm. And to me, you just lose the authenticity. So I have a strict rule where I don't sell anything in those posts. I post what I'm thinking about. That's it. If they connect with me afterwards and we have a conversation, of course, I might try and sell something then, but I never sell my business in any of those posts. I certainly wouldn't sell a third party's business, even if they paid me well in any of those posts, because I think long term, it's not part of what building a brand is about. You want to build a brand with trust and authenticity. And I think as soon as you start selling things in those posts, you lose it. So to do that, because again, LinkedIn opened my eyes to just the opportunity of a media platform and how private equity is greatly underserved right now. If you go to any private equity conferences, they're horrific. They're terrible. If you look at private equity media platforms, they're terrible. They're just boring. They're saying the same things that everyone else does. So I think a kind of a different voice in private equity, a more honest voice. I think there's an opportunity there. I launched a site called Not Very Private Equity, and that's getting a ton of traction already. So it's just something else that has come. As LinkedIn was the catalyst of my eyes, the opportunity. So I launched that to be a differentiated private equity media business, and having fun growing that as well.
It also makes sense to me why you don't do a lot of the sponsorships, not only from like the authenticity standpoint, but at the level you're operating in $1,000 or even $10,000 ad, if that's gonna rub one person the wrong way, I mean, like, the deals you're making are in a much higher level, like, in the millions, I'm sure, and that's not worth even if it's $10,000, which would be crazy for a LinkedIn brand
Yeah.
deal.
So, I mean, not very private equity, which would be a newsletter, then would be events. Yeah, sure. That could be sponsored all over the place. There's a ton of revenue opportunities and sponsor opportunities there. But LinkedIn, in terms of a brand and my personal brand, you've just got to keep it clean. Keep it clean, keep it authentic, carry on posting in the voice that everyone expects. And, the audience will just carry on building and you'll get ancillary benefits from that over time.
You're sticking to the fundamentals just like you do in private equity.
Yeah. It's not hard, but a lot of people miss it. Stick to the fundamentals.
One last thing, Lee, before Daniel, I let you take over with good idea, bad idea. I think what you're doing with Claymore is really, really interesting, and you kind of alluded to the way that you're sort of building a private equity firm backwards. Can you just
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about that? Because I think it's super
Mm.
fascinating, the approach that you have.
Yeah, look, I think private equity is due for a change. There are a lot of funds that have raised their last fund, right? I think the problem has been the operational aspect. They employ operating partners, then don't really give the operating partners the remit to actually fix things in the portfolio companies. There's always a dance with the CEO of the portfolio companies, and it's really hard to get things done. And the irony is, PE firms really don't get involved in a business until it's close to bankruptcy, and then they've got no choice; they have to go in and do something. And I get it, right? Because it's a financial business, and the best private equity investment would be you buy a company, you don't talk to them for 4 years, and you sell for 3x. That's the perfect investment. So traditionally, P really hasn't wanted to get involved. They want to employ the best management team and cross their fingers and let the management team perform and sell. But private equity is getting a lot harder. There's a lot more competition to get these companies in private equity. You can't rely on financial engineering completely anymore. You have to build organic value creation in these businesses. And digital is one of the biggest levers. So I think it's been a challenge in the past where every private equity firm has an operating team, but they define them very differently. You ask 20 companies, how they define an operating partner and what that person does, and you get 25 different answers back. And I think they also historically haven't moved fast enough. So they'll buy a company and they'll have a 100-day plan. and it'll tick over, and then again, they'll wait until something bad happens, and then they'll jump in. Where back to the fundamentals, there are some fundamentals things you should do on every business. Like as soon as you buy a business, if I was a CEO, I'd want to make sure that business was built on data. I'd want to be able to measure everything I possibly could about that business. So there are some things PE firms should do when they buy businesses. You say, look, trust us, we know what we're doing. We're going to fix the tech stack. We're going to make sure you can measure everything in your business. And then we're going to build you BI on top of that. And that should be music to the ears of a lot of CEOs, because they're basically saying, we're going to build you the tools to have full insight to your business. And if you've got full insight to your business, you should be able to run a better business. You should know what's going on. You should know what the levers are. You should know what your priorities are. And you should be a lot more successful in that. So the platform for Claymore and P is that, and that's what PE firms should do anyhow, is just build the fundamentals from day one. Build a business built on data, build a tech stack to run that business efficiently and effectively. And then once you do that, optimize your marketing, optimize your sales. And that's actually the easiest part because you can measure everything.
And so, Lee, essentially, you guys are right now, you're very much operational value creation, digital value creation focused. But,
Yeah.
maybe like 3 to 5 years from now, do you see yourself raising a fund around that after you've built out those capabilities and the track record?
Yeah, sure. Raising a fund or partnering with a fund. Because right now I'm doing the same thing. I'm working across several portfolio companies now, building that digital foundation. So putting that in place for these companies. And every time they see success, because their competition are not doing it, you digitize a business, you give them the insight, you give them the tools to grow at a much faster clip than they've ever grown in the past, they'll see success. So yeah, at some point I'll raise a fund or partner the fund and buy these companies myself and do it. But when I talked about all firms, I think there are some firms that do it differently, like Vista and Thoma Bravo. I think those guys have got the right approach because they will go in from day one and they'll say, this is our playbook. And there's no questions. This gets done. We're going to build you a tech stack. We're going to build you a suite for BI. We're going to give you all the insight you need because we've done this 50 times before and we know it works. So trust us. So it's not all PE firms, but there are very few I know of, like Thoma and Vista, that will go in and say, okay, day one, this is getting done.
What excites me so much about this, Lee, is that also you're kind of demystifying private equity in a way because when you're posting on LinkedIn, you're using plain English. Like what you just described to Matt and I is not what a lot of private equity investors can always do when talking about their business. Like you're buying it, mostly they have a 100-day plan and you're just making sure the 100-day plan is like a 365 plan and that this business has good ownership from day one and not just from day 100 and not day 101 for some reason. Like
Yep.
it's very easy for me to understand as somebody who doesn't even work in PE.
It's not that hard.
All right, so let's get into good idea, bad idea. And for context, I have 3 ideas for you,
Yep.
and you're going to tell me what you think of them.
All right.
The first one is a Claymore turnaround reality show. Now, I know you already have a website going, so this might be able to go on there. And the thought is that it's a docuseries following you and Claymore as you're fixing a broken portfolio company. What are your thoughts?
Horrific idea.
Why?
One, I wouldn't have the time to do that. And just having the discipline of doing that every day and doing it well, right? Because if you take that as an undertaking, you would want to do it well, right? You wouldn't want to post once a week with a quick update. You would want full insight into a business on how it's growing. So for me, yeah, I would not want to do that at all because I think it would be it would take a lot of time and effort to do that. And I'm not sure the return would be that good. I'm not saying it's a horrific idea for anybody else because people do it, right? People are doing not a docu-series, but people are doing this on YouTube or the channels right now where they're giving full insight to their business. And it's just a fly on the wall. It's entertaining, but I think you've got to be exceptionally disciplined and have a lot of time to do it.
That makes sense. This next idea is taken from a lot of the insights content that's been going around on LinkedIn right now.
Yep.
And it's growth report cards for PE companies. So the thought behind this one is you can rate each portfolio company or a potential target and publish a simple to view report card, whether across profitability, growth, and other metrics you track.
Well, tell me more. Who would produce that? The PE firm?
Yeah, it would be a template that you guys have that you can either put on LinkedIn or share internally.
Well, one
Like
you
insights, but for private equity.
well you can't. That's why it's private, right? You're locked down. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to share company financials on privately held businesses like that. If you're a private equity firm, uh, it's against the law. So in that case, it's a
Is
terrible
that a
idea.
legal requirement?
Yeah.
Really? Huh. So, like, if my electrician shop is owned by a private equity firm, the private equity firm can't be like, oh, this company made me 3 times my investment and made $100,000 in profit last year or something like that.
No, you're locked down. You can't do it.
Wow.
You should look.
Okay.
They should be sharing. There's other growth metrics they can share. They can never show financials about the business.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the regulations in PE.
My last one, again, as someone who's totally new to private equity, this might exist or some iteration of it, but it's, well, I've got two ideas of this. One of them is a dating app for private equity firms and companies where you can swipe based on metrics because I don't know, like, how are most private equity firms finding the companies they invest in? This might be more of an open-ended question because I honestly have no clue.
Where it's hard, it depends on the fund size. It depends on the strategy of the fund, i.e., if you are a small business fund or if you are a growth fund, then you're hunting a lot more. So you're trying to find these companies. Typically, these companies have never had institutional capital before. So you're finding the founders and you're communicating with the founders and you're seeing there's any interest in selling all or part of their business. If you are a big fund and you're putting a lot of money to work, typically it's the investment banks bringing you these opportunities. But me, sorry. So yeah, so
Fascinating.
I just think about
I
like
think I'm
a Tinder for business. Yeah, I like the idea in uh I like the concept, but actually just getting the data to do something like that would be tough.
right because most of these companies,
That's one of the hardest things is sourcing businesses and sourcing opportunities.
if sourcing businesses is so hard and that's one of the biggest problems for private equity, I don't know
Yeah.
why more people wouldn't make content because that's, to me, the easiest way to get
Yeah.
not only in higher chances of your DM being responded to, but also of inbound deals coming to you. I'm sure you get a bunch of opportunities to invest in companies because they want you over some Joe Schmo who has no followers on LinkedIn and can't help them.
Well, that's the other thing that's broken in PE, and I think I posted about this, is, they take the word private too far, and if you look at 99% of private equity websites, it's a pitch book for LPs. That's it. And they're pretty boring, most of the sites. You know, on the post you pulled up earlier when I talked about if I was building a PE firm from scratch, I would do several things completely different. The brand and the transparency would be different. So you're exactly right. New firms, new PE firms should build brands where they're transparent and they're talking about their founders and they're showing every metric they can and they're building trust. Because the majority of the time, when a business comes up for sale, if it's big enough, it'll be handled by an investment bank. Right? The investment bank will produce the SIM, which is ostensibly the pitch deck, and then they'll take it to the PE firms that they think will be most likely to buy this business. And then the founder will meet these PE firms and they'll have never heard of them. Right? If you ask a founder what PE firms they know, they might name the top 5. They might say, I've heard of KKR and Blackstone and Carlyle and Apollo. Very unlikely those firms are going to buy the business. So they'll meet 5 PE firms they've never heard of. If you are a PE firm, you've already built a brand, one, much better if the founder goes, oh, I've heard of those guys. I've heard of those guys because they post so much on LinkedIn and they've got a great website and they post their founder stories and I feel like I know them and I feel like I can trust them already because they're just transparent. I know the PE firm is. So I think there's a big benefit to that. And it's better to attract than chase. So you also get a benefit there. Because if you do so well at building awareness and building a brand for the PE firm, then even before an investment bank approaches a company, hopefully you get companies going, okay, I'm thinking about selling. Oh, I've heard about these guys because I've seen their content and they seem trustworthy. I'll just email them and ask them what's the process and would they be interested in buying me? So that was a very long-winded answer to actually agree with you and say, yes, if a PE firm thought a lot harder about how they brand themselves and how they go to market with marketing and LinkedIn and all the various channels at their disposal, they could make themselves way more attractive to founders than they do at the moment.
I think we have the title of this YouTube video, Matt. Why every PE fund needs to be on LinkedIn in 2026.
There we go.
One more question, Lee, because I can't control myself,
Go for it.
is when people talk about investment banking, I think a lot of people think of bank tellers or traditional banking services. From my understanding, investment banking, and Matt, you can do a better job of explaining this, but has really nothing to do with the traditional financial system. You are just a middleman between a private equity firm who wants to buy the company and the actual company who is looking to sell.
Yes.
So why is it called investment banking? This might be a better, like I don't get it.
Because you're selling something. You're making an investment. It's like
I guess, yeah,
you're
Raise capital sometimes.
It's like being
Mm,
you're
right.
connecting buyers and sellers. It's like being a real estate agent. You're connecting buyers and sellers, and if you're a real estate agent and you're selling a house, you want to make that house as attractive as possible. And you pull all the documents together and all the legal documents, and you try and get the highest price possible. The investment bank has the same job. They try and sell a business. They make that business look as attractive as possible. They pull the pitch decks together and the sims and everything they need to, and they try and get the highest price possible. Same deal. They're middlemen.
That makes sense. Maybe, yeah, no, that makes total sense. Is there anything else, Lee, that we didn't hit on that you want to mention to the audience before we wrap up?
Don't think so. I think you've been pretty thorough. Maybe let's talk about your posting strategy of annoying everybody.
It's
Tell
working pretty well so far.
us the strategy for don't do this and how far you're going to take it. You could take it a long way.
I think I'm going to take it pretty far. I thought my best post so far, Lee, was I just had one. And, I'm someone who posts 2 to 3 times a day. It's tough with my day job, but um, where I took that because Sam Parr reposted my post where I
I
said,
saw
stop
that.
doing
Yeah.
this. You saw the one where I said, stop doing this?
Yeah.
I thought that was the fun. I thought that was a great bit, but I am going to keep doing more of those because it's a proven format. If
See
it
how far you can
works,
take it.
exactly. Like Ashton Hall, you know that guy, Lee, who posts his get ready with me? He's like 5 a.m. with Saratoga water.
I don't, but go on.
So there's this guy who posts his routines, and he's like drinking Saratoga water every day, putting his face in an ice bath at 3 a.m., all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it, and now he's got like 10 million followers doing the same thing. So, like, if this is going to be a proven format, I might as well try it until it burns out.
Keep doing it. It's all about test and learn. What have you
That's
guys
right.
I should throw a question back at you because you're obviously it's your business. You're way deeper in LinkedIn than I am. So what have you learned? Like 3 things that work, 3 things like a no-brainers everyone should do on LinkedIn.
Matt, maybe you
I
go
feel like
first. I need some
comments.
time to
I mean,
think.
I feel like comments we
Yeah.
already talked about, but that's a no-brainer for sure.
Yeah.
100%. If you're not commenting, what are you doing? It's a social network for a reason. It's not just to post and then run away.
Yeah.
So I think for me, comments is huge. Also, because I post a lot for clients as well, and we've tested, lots of different formats.
Yep.
I agree with you that video, nobody across all of my clients is seeing significant impressions from video. So we've kind of avoided that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Focusing a lot more on just like pure text or text with image. What seems to work really well is if you do have case studies, posting case studies where the customer, the client, or whoever you're working with is saying really good things about you. Those posts, I think, are the most effective for driving leads. So it may not get as many impressions, but if you're running, say, a coaching business, for example, and you post a lot of screenshots from your internal community, people's successes, wins, things like that.
Yeah.
Those we've been seeing a lot of success with a couple of my clients. So I think for you, obviously, your goal is not to sell Claymore that directly, but that is something that we've noticed has worked really well. And then in terms of like top of funnel, I think Lee, you're very good at this already, but piggybacking off of trending news,
Yeah.
those types of posts tend to do very well. So today's, Netflix, Warner Brothers acquisition, that would be a really great post to make, give your real and personal take on it. That would probably perform quite well. And then also anything that's a little bit spicy or controversial, provocative, always
Right.
tends to get a lot of engagement.
What are your deliverables for clients? Because you're building an interesting business yourself, building an agency for LinkedIn. But I think the issue you have, and you may tell me I'm wrong, is attribution. Because anytime I employ an agency, a digital agency, I'm very clear that I don't care about impressions or engagement. At the end of the day, I'm paying you to make me more money. Unless you can show me how you're making more money, we've got an issue. And digital agencies don't like that, right? Because they normally like talking about 200 different vanity metrics and the engagement we've got you, and isn't it great? And it's like, well, no, it's not. I pay you $20,000 a month. How much money am I making from this? And
Well,
they've got attribution and don't like to tell you and don't want to tell you. On LinkedIn, there's none of that attribution. So what are you promising clients? It's just impressions and engagement.
first of all, that's fascinating, Lee. I need to be charging higher prices if they're charging you $20,000 a month. Second of all, one of the things, and completely agree with you, the attribution is really important to folks because they don't care if we're getting impressions, if none of that is leading to actual sales calls being
Business.
booked. So every month with all of my clients, we've got a very built out dashboard for them with most of the important metrics. So for them, it's usually, how many sales calls did we get inbound that were qualified? And, how many of those actually ended up resulting in closed deals?
How could
So
how do they attribute that to LinkedIn?
they cannot attribute it directly to posts, but they do have basically a setter in their LinkedIn DMs. So someone whose only job is to message leads
Yeah.
as they come in. And that person keeps track of how many calls they're actually getting booked. So it is possible to measure attribution there, but you won't know which post that person came in from or if they saw 2 or 3 posts before that.
Okay. That's pretty clear.
But I do agree with you. It's a common problem with the space, and if if someone's figured it out, like I would love to pick their brain. Um, Otherwise, it's something that definitely keeps me up at night.
Well, that's your
I don't
opportunity.
think Lee will ever get to a place where you can 100% like because with, the science says that it takes 7 times for someone to see something before they actually purchase it. Now, it is a little bit different when you're talking about something like spending money with Matt on ghostwriting. That's more of a B2B thing, a little higher ticket and different thing. But if you're taking the example of home services, it's probably going to take a few clicks. So, especially when you're on LinkedIn or even on Google, you can't, it's hard to attribute it just to one post. Like one of our previous guests said, for every dollar he's spending, and, like, the return they get, he just assumes 50% of it is not, there's just this sort of dark funnel because it could have been, like, they could have just gotten paid and are like, "Okay, I wanna do it this day," and it's hard to always 100% track it.
100% is hard. I agree. Even on a full marketing mix, your top of funnel, it's impossible. But the digital you can attribute, there are still some gray areas in digital to attribute. Like social. No, you can see the direct response you get from social, but you also know you're getting a big kicker from the branding effect of social. And they might see you on social and then might call your number a week later, and you've got nowhere to attribute that. But you still should attribute it as much as you can. Like you should be thinking about every week, I can attribute 60% of this. Right. How can I get a 65% and attribute this? Because I mean,
Totally.
that's your opportunity. If you think if you can build something to do that, to piggyback on LinkedIn or some kind of other platform to do that, that will put you head and shoulders above competition. If you can actually tell people, no, we've got good attribution here. We can tell you exactly how much money we're going to make you.
Do the companies that you work with, Lee, at Claymore or even before Claymore, like, do any of them implement content into their marketing strategy or organic, or is it mostly on, like, the paid side?
The Well, SEO is big. SEO is a hygiene factor. Everyone should be doing SEO in terms of organic, but granted, that's not strictly content. You know, a lot of them actually don't do a great deal. They might do organic on Meta, on Facebook and Insta. That's really it. They're not doing a lot of organic on LinkedIn or not doing a lot of organic on other platforms.
Huh. It's fascinating.
Because the ROI is low, right? When I first started working at Facebook, organic was massive. You were getting a lot of ROI from organic. But then once these platforms like LinkedIn is doing, and I'm sure will carry on doing, will figure out a way to make you pay for it. Like why would you give someone a big free voice and free impressions if we can figure out how we make them pay for it? And that's gotta what I mean, I'm sure LinkedIn that will happen at some point. Like the organic reach. And again, it's down to the black box of LinkedIn. I'd love to see some metrics on this to show like organic reach, is that declining over time? Because if it goes the way of the other platforms, that's absolutely happened. Google organic declined over time. Insta organic, Facebook organic, all declined over time. They'll always find a way to make you pay for it. As long as you can measure what the ROI from that investment is, that's absolutely fine. Like Google PPC, if that's profitable, we'll pay for that all day long. But of course, that's just not there on LinkedIn yet.
Yeah. No,
But
I
love what
completely
you guys are doing. Keep doing it. I think it's a super interesting space. And there are not many insights, and we're all guessing around this, right? But that's why we're having these conversations and conversations with other guests that you have. But again, it's an opportunity. If you figure out ways to solidify these insights even more and figure out what data you can collect to give people even more facts about performance on LinkedIn and how you do improve your performance, I think it can be go.
that's the plan. Get all the insights, talk to all the people, and hopefully we'll figure
Have a
something
$10
out.
million podcast.
Best of luck.
Thanks for
Awesome.
coming on the show, Lee.
Pleasure. Good talking to you both.